guys, welcome back to the channel. So on today's podcast, we have someone very special, someone who has been giving back to the community, not just his time but his money as well. He's given out $20,000 worth of his own hard-earned money, spreading the positivity and kindness. I'm sure you will have seen some of his videos on his social media. It's none other than Kevin Wee, also known as Radical Kindness on TikTok.
Yeah.
So thanks Kevin for making the time to come down. I'm sure you are.
I say that I've seen your videos pop up as well on my feed.
Right.
But your analysis of cars and sometimes just lifestyle content.
Yeah.
And your style is immaculate, I must say.
Thank you very much.
Just look at the way I dress.
So actually, could you give the viewers a short introduction about yourself?
So my name is Kevin. I think from young I've always felt a little bit more for people, animals, things. I tear quite often when I see people being ostracized or people being looked down upon.
Yeah.
And I also tear when people overcome the odds. Even when my mom told me the ugly duckling story when I was young, I felt sad for the duck.
Okay.
It was a sad duck because he was ostracized by his own family. Right? And then he had to go around, persevere, go around and find a place where he belongs.
Right.
And eventually he find a community that values his worth. And then he becomes a swan.
Right.
So it's a very powerful story. It's a simple like childhood story, but there's a lot of lessons that can be learned from the story.
I'm sure.
God or fate has put me in situations where I've been very, very depressed. Nearly took my life as well.
Right.
I think that allowed me to empathize very deeply with people in similar situations or empathize with pain in general.
Yep.
And I think from then I kind of built my life and businesses around two things. One is inspiring a more kinder, loving society, and the other is to inspiring people to be more resilient.
Yep.
Right, to overcome the odds, to overcome very harsh odds, to overcome their mental health challenges. So those are the two broad themes around all the businesses that I built.
So I think you have mentioned this a couple of times on your social media, but again, for the viewers who haven't watched your content, haven't seen your content, could you share a bit more about what inspired you to do what you're doing now, which is giving back to the community?
Yeah, I think it's both nature and nurture as with most things. I think by nature, I'm a very empathetic person, like I think I mentioned earlier. But life also presented opportunities for me to suffer a lot, and because of that, the depth of my compassion is somewhat linked to my pain. Right? I don't think I would have the same level of empathy and compassion if not for what I've gone through. And so for me, it's like people do ask me like, why do you do this? I think the real question is why not? Right. And it's not just why not, it's like I can't help but do this. Like I suffocate when I don't do this.
Right.
Like people say that I'm generous, yes, but I'm also self-interested because like I'm helping myself.
Yep.
You know, I feel good when I'm doing this.
No, that's so true. That's so true. Like when, honestly, when people look at me, I mean, some of the people that met me, they usually say, you're not the kind to give back one, lah. But you know, honestly, some of the things that I do, which I don't post on social media, right? It's very small things. But honestly, I feel very good deep down. Like for example, I recently ordered Foodpanda, McDonald's, I believe it was, for supper around 12 midnight. But then they dragged the timing. They said, it was 20 minutes, and then after they were like, sorry, it's going to be 45 minutes and it's going to be 50 minutes. So to me, it was like, I didn't want the food anymore. So I just texted the guy, you don't have to pick it up. And then he hit me, actually, instead of, the food is just going to be there, even if he doesn't pick it up. I told him, actually, go ahead and have that for supper. You don't have to deliver it to me. Just mark it as delivered once you get it and enjoy your supper. And he was so thankful. He was so grateful. And I felt so good inside.
Yeah, fantastic. I think that's a small thing, right? I think kindness doesn't need just to be a huge act.
Yeah.
Obviously, I have to be more extravagant because it's social media, right? But the small ones, so-called inverted commas small ones, are actually those that make equal greater impact.
Yeah, I mean, it's what, $15 for that meal, and he was so grateful. I screenshotted the messages he sent to me. He was so thankful. He was like, thank you, oh my God, are you serious? I was like, yeah, don't worry, I'm not going to report you to Foodpanda for stealing my food. But he was so grateful, and honestly, deep down,
lovely story,
it felt so good.
Lovely story. And also, like, I mean, add one quote, right? People don't remember what you do. They don't remember what you say, but they always remember how you made them feel.
Right, that's so true. That's true.
And that's why, like, even incidents that happened to me 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I remember those incidents where I felt very small, when I'm put down, or incidents where I'm uplifted. And you can think back to the audience listening this, right? The trauma that you remember from the past is because somebody made you feel a certain way. Very strongly.
True. And I totally agree with what you said about how it's because of God of fate, making you, having put you through this much of suffering, that you're able to empathize with other people. Because to be honest, when people tell me that they suffered from depression, I'm not gonna say that I understand what you're going through. Because to be honest, I don't. I will never be able to understand how that feels. So for you to be able to empathize with them a bit more stronger and use that knowledge of relatability to help other people and uplift other people out of their depression, I think is very commendable.
Yeah, and I think everyone has their own context, because life presents us different experiences, and I think based on that, like for you as well, you're impacting lives in your own capacity, right? Because of your experiences, right? Maybe I could be wrong on this, right? But maybe you took some time to look at how to your finances, plan your finances to purchase your car, to ensure everything is in order, and that's why you're able to then create something that is more detailed.
Because I've done it myself, I know how to the same thing about yourself.
And then that provides value for people who are looking into purchasing something.
Exactly. The next question I have for you is, everybody wants to be successful in their lives, be it relationship, career, friendships, whatnot. But what's your definition of success? Everyone has a different definition, right? Some people say, I want to earn $10 million. That's their success. What is yours?
Yeah, so I think to define your own success is really important. So when I go to schools and I run talks for schools as well, I always tell them, like, the first thing is you have to define your own success, not just by definitions of society or what others tell you. Because that's a dangerous place to be in, right? When you just follow and you live life purely for the validation of others, I think you end up very unhappy.
True.
So for me, it's still being refined, right? Still being refined, but I would like to say that success is how many lives are better off because I've lived.
Right.
Okay, so that's the answer that I would give. However, deep down inside, I must admit that going through this society, right, consuming Red Pill content, obviously I have this idea that I need to make a certain amount of money, subtly, at least subconsciously, right, have a certain house, drive a certain car, to be seen as influential. And I don't deny that has an impact on me, and that's why in my second relapse, I suffered very heavily, because my self-worth was subtly very tied to productivity, drive, competency. And I felt like as a man, I have no more value when I can't do that.
Right.
Yeah. So that's why I think right now I'm trying to figure out that balance, between more intangible things and of course the tangible ones.
Right. I totally agree. I mean, at the point where you say in this current society where people see you, if you have it's a bit it's very superficial. If you take the MRT, you take the train, you wear shorts, t-shirt, everything, you have no branded watch, no nothing. The chances of people listening to you or being influenced by you is quite low. But then on social media, if you have this, you have that, a nice car, a nice house, naturally people will be a bit more, they would want to listen to you.
Got you.
Unfortunately, that's just the way it is.
It's association bias. But I also kind of add a nuance to that as well, in that it's not just like the wealth that you show, it's also like the substance that you provide people and how you carry yourself. Because I've seen people who are technically, I think, pretty decent, well off, but just the tone, the way they carry themselves may not be very persuasive to the mass market audience.
Right.
I mean, we can use Brad Go as an example, but he's obviously doing it intentionally, right? To get
engagement
and everything. So funny, because I rented a Maserati.
I saw, oh, you rented that?
It's coming out. So of course. I
thought it was a friend's one.
No. So basically, I thought, okay, a lot of people are pestering me to do it. I was like, okay, maybe I'll just scratch and itch, because I cannot stand it. I need to scratch and itch.
No, I saw so many comments asking, imitate Brad Go, please, imitate Brad Go, please.
Yeah. So I'm going to release it on Saturday, probably before, once this podcast is out, it's probably going to really be released on my TikTok. I'm going to check it out. But I think I rented, and this is similar to the point we talked about. Like, I asked, I went on Carousel, I said, like, I messaged a few people, like, hey, can you rent it to me for a heavily discounted price or free in exchange for some videos? And then I think one person replied me, say, I like your content, let's do it. So it's great. Like, it's also this links to the first point about why you give back. I think logically there's a lot of reciprocity as well. You don't know how it happens. Of course, you don't expect it immediately. But in your line of work, you know as well, it comes back to you in different forms, right?
Yeah, correct.
Over a different time horizon. So then he rented it to me and for a day at a heavily discounted price. And driving the car, even I felt for a moment like my esteem was boosted. And the way people look at you, the speed that I have, it's interesting.
Yeah. It changes your outlook. So I've seen some videos online, people talking about how if you can afford your dream car, just buy it, because once you buy it, you drive it, you feel the way you feel when you drive the car, it pushes you to want to do better.
I agree, and that's why I wouldn't discount. See, I used to be a very black and white thinker because I was very religious growing up, right? But now I'm a little bit more like shades of grey. I understand the nuances, and I can see why aspiring to something will motivate somebody.
For sure.
But I can also see the argument that these things are fleeting, that it gives you only a temporary sense of satisfaction, right? So it's really a bit of both, and I don't want to be prescriptive on anything.
There has to be that fine balance. Like I think my parents, they are very traditional. They're very traditional, and they always tell me, Justin, don't buy the car. Don't buy the car. You want, you can take MRT, train. You want, you can Grab. Singapore is so small. Doesn't mean you're going to have more clients, park millions of dollars with you just because you drive a nice car. So I can see where they're coming from in saving money and whatnot. But I also agree that in this current climate where I feel like the new currency, I think I did a video on this, the new currency for Gen Zs at least, is really social media presence, social media following. That is something that people look at, and you have more influential power or persuasiveness.
Correct. And you use that in some sense to your advantage, is like necessary evil. Right? And so like, I understand why we have to potentially do that. It's like, I'm most random thing I want to pluck out from my ass, right? Is this I've recently been obsessed with this song called Angel with a Shotgun.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've been vibing to that song, and it's just basically the metaphor about how in love you're like an angel, you want to protect, right? But sometimes you need to fight wars for it. That's why the metaphor of a shotgun, right? And then there's a line in the second verse that says like, okay, let me Google this out.
Sure,
this
no
is important.
ahead.
You can edit it out. You can edit it out.
Yeah.
So that I don't look like
no worries.
So the line goes, sometimes to win, you got to sin. Doesn't mean I'm not a believer. So like, it's like a subtle reference that sometimes like morality is not so black and white.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, you take a utilitarian point of view, and sometimes the ends justify the means, or rather the means justify the ends. Yeah.
Vice versa.
So it's
it can't be too rigid. I feel like in life you have to be a little bit flexible. I mean, especially in my line of work, or generally in life, my outlook is, as long as I'm not being unethical, as long as I'm not hurting someone, I don't mind going on the grey area. Of course, not things regulated by MAS, like signing for your client, all these things. That one is black and white.
That needs a podcast by itself. I think morality is hard to discuss because it's like we can even argue that morality is man-made.
Argumentative.
It's man-made, right?
It is.
In the past, people used to have so many wives. In the past, polygamy is the norm.
Right.
But in the past, like older people will go with younger people. So it really be. Anyway, interesting.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move on.
Yeah.
So on the topic of success, right? What are some of the success principles that you have, that you might want to share?
Cool. So like based on our definition of success earlier, it's interestingly because like I have it tattooed on my body. So I have one tattoo that says Invictus. You can zoom in on.
Yes. I
so
saw
Invictus is my favorite poem. It means unconquered in Latin. Right. I'm a master of my fate, the captain of my soul. That's the end two lines of the poem. But if you look at the entire poem, right, it talks about how despite, no matter how dark the night is, no matter how cold the storm is, right, there's always an element of control, self-efficacy and self-accountability.
Right.
If you take full responsibility for your life, you don't lay blame, you don't give excuses, you don't whine. I think that's a fundamental principle of quote-unquote success or productivity, or just living a life that is effective. So I hold this very strongly to my heart, because when I was 20 years old, screwed up my A-levels, handed out blank papers on math, very disillusioned. Coming out of it, I remember I met very good mentors, and one of the things he told me that stuck with me is that for things to change, first I must change. Right? The world without sometimes reflect the world within. And then I had to look at the world within and ask myself, what can I change before the outer world will reflect that. Right? Instead of laying blame on the outside, which most of the time you don't have direct control over. So self-efficacy is a huge thing. And then you have surrender. I'm probably going to tattoo a dove here.
Right.
I have a temporary one, but it's faded already. So a dove represents surrender. One's control and one's surrender.
Right.
Because I think human beings in itself, this is just for me, I think I have to rely to some extent on a higher power. I think there are things in life I cannot fully understand. Transitionary events, sudden deaths. I cannot understand these things. And so I think I need providence, I need belief in a higher power and surrender. I think there's power in surrender. And the idea of a dove, like in the Bible, Noah's flood. So I'm sure you've heard of Noah's flood, where God sent this flood, right? And then to destroy the earth, and he put Noah in an ark. He said, build an ark. And so I promise you that eventually there'll be dry land. So the flood was 40 days and 40 nights, and then finally Noah sent out a dove and says, like, as a signal to find dry land, right? So for many days the dove didn't come back with nothing. So one day it came back with an olive branch in its beak. It signifies that there's dry land.
Right.
So that became a metaphor for providence, control and surrender. Right. And then the last one is this tattoo here. It's a rose with blood and a heartbeat. And so the rose is by a song of Westlife. It's the first line of the song reads, love is like a razor, it leaves the soul to bleed. So love can hurt. Right. To dream is to risk failure. It can hurt, right? But the second stanza of the song says that, is the heart afraid of breaking that never learns to dance? Is a dream afraid of waking that never takes the chance? Right. And is the soul afraid of dying that never learns to live? So it's saying that you have to risk anyway, because that's where fulfillment lies. Yep, true. And then at the end of the song, it says that when the night has been too lonely and the road has been too long, when you feel like love is only for the lucky and the strong, just remember in the winter, far beneath the bitter snow, lies the seed that with the sun's love in the spring becomes a rose. But I tattooed it here because when I shake somebody's hair, it's an extension of my belief that to love and be loved in return. Oh, interesting. Right, and I put a heartbeat because it signifies what my heart beats for. And also my first line of, if you don't mind me sharing, my first line of shirts that I've designed is also modeled after this. Yeah, the design. Okay. Well, then now that makes me feel a bit, because my tattoos, some of them don't have no meaning. Just like, it looks cool, man. I think I'm gonna get that. Yours are also meaningful. Mine are just like, I mean. Oh, but yours, okay, I realized you have full like leg tattoos, right? Yeah, which I tend to usually cover up when I'm working lah. Yeah, because I mean, young tattoos usually people it's stigmatized like. But why do you choose to get those tattoos? I mean, is when I was young, it's more insecurity. You know, didn't really like my body, and then I wanted people to think of me as like, oh, he's cool. You know? Interesting. So, okay, also on the same topic of success, with their success, there will come times where you would feel mentally, physically exhausted and drained. How do you stay positive, you know, for mental health wise? Any tips on that? Because I think it's very common. Yeah, so it's a balance. I think mental health is always contextualized, right? I think the biggest advice I can give you is that don't take anything at face value. Self-care sometimes works, and sometimes hard stuff works. Right, like you wake up your idea. You know, sometimes it is that balance between hard and soft. And so, stress in itself is not a bad thing. Right, it leads to growth. If you look at the graph of stress versus productivity or stress versus competency, it's like there's a graph where some amount of stress gives you optimal performance. There's eustress. And then it hits a certain point at the plateau, and then it goes down. That is distress. So you got to be very mindful, like, where's your point? Where's your point where eustress turns into distress? And it's different from every single person. You have to find it out for yourself through self-introspection, reflection, you know, living intentionally, consciously. You got to find that out for yourself. It's not easy to find that line, you know, but you have to find it out for yourself. And I think, like, it's really the balance between self-compassion and self-demand that's where growth is. I think growth is the border of support and challenge. Too much support, you become over-reliant and weak. Too much challenge leads to trauma. You know? I also believe that people should put themselves in uncomfortable situations, because that's only where, not only where, but typically when you're in uncomfortable situations, that's when there's individual growth. And for me, I always prioritize individual growth. In a career, in a relationship, I don't look at which company pays me the most. I look at which company would be able to give me the most avenues to grow as an individual. A relationship as well. You know, I always, I mean, for me, relationship-wise, I like to see, I don't regret any relationship or anything I've ever done in my life, because all of whatever happened made me or led you to where you are today. Exactly. You know, every bad thing that happened to me in the past has led me to where I am now. So if I were to go back and change that one thing, I mean, butterfly effect, we will not be who we are today. And I always believe that in order to be considered truly successful, you have to fail. You have to fail. If not, you will never be able to tell people, you know, I've been there, and now I'm here, and I can teach you, I can guide you on how you. Everyone will fail, for sure. Yeah, success is just failure, you know, over time. You know, it's like. Oh, that's a good quote. It's both. They're both events, right? We tend to, because I tell kids, right, the reason why failure hurts is because you overhype success. It's all relative. The reason why failure hurts so much for them, is stigmatized so much, is because in society we plaster people with straight A's on the wall, right? And we glorify these people, and so because of that relativity, they think that they're less of. they personalize failure. So if you look at research into failure and resilience, right, there are 3 P's that most common thing that people do is they personalize it. They think that just because they fail an event, they fail as a person. Second one is permanence. They think that failure is permanent and they think they cannot get out of it. And the third one is pervasive, which means that they think that one failure affects other areas of their life. So if you can avoid these 3 P's and find that opposite, failure is neutral, failure is feedback, failure is stepping stone, that's what classifies people who are a little bit more resilient. According to Martin Seligman, he's just like a renowned fellow in positive psych.
Okay. Okay. So I think to summarize what you just said is, I think main thing is changing your mindset lah.
Yeah.
Changing your mindset. Yeah. Okay. Totally agree. Okay. And another one, right? So I've read your 35-page. He has a 35-page carousel on TikTok.
Yeah.
You guys
TikTok
go check
as
it out.
well as like Instagram. I think,
okay.
Like, it's in my story highlight, the first one.
Yeah. So it shows that Kevin has really gone through a roller coaster of a ride. Coming from a top school, right? What was it? Raffles?
Yeah.
Raffles, to getting diagnosed with depression, filming yourself doing crazy shit like drinking your urine and eating dog shit, which I have not. Is it? No, you said you removed it, right? Maybe you can show me.
I might if I'm interested. I have a private link that I do send some people.
Yeah, I mean, from filming yourself drinking urine and eating dog shit to building a business, a 6-figure business, and then losing your life savings, so it's 230,000.
At that time.
Yeah, 230,000, and then relapsing with depression. And now rebounding from your lows and giving back to the community, right? So what's some advice you can give to people who are struggling with mental health issues but might not have an outlet to rent? I think men tend to not really have that outlet.
Yeah, and suicide rates in men are also a lot higher globally. Some are attributed to the idea that we cannot speak up, we cannot be vulnerable. But also I think part of it is, and part of it is that perhaps we've feminized men a little bit too much over the last decade, that we don't prepare them for the reality. Because now everything's about self-care, vulnerability, you can speak up. So I'm kind of like in between on this.
Right.
Some of you might find it surprising, but I'm actually really in between on the idea, because I think traditional masculinity has value. The idea that courage, stoicism, the idea that you act in order to feel rather than feel first and then act. Right? You act on responsibility and the rest will kind of follow. I think if people act on their feelings alone, our BTOs wouldn't be built. The foreign workers would be like, oh, I don't feel like going to work.
Right.
So you think they feel like going to work every day at freaking 5 a.m., work for 12 hours under the sun?
Yeah.
Nobody points that out.
Yeah.
So
and they get paid like $3 an hour.
Yeah, 1K per month.
Terrible.
So anyway, my point is that you really need a balance. And for me, when I overcame my struggles, it was really a balance, right? Like, I had support from my parents, mainly. Everyone else was not really there for me because all my friends had to move on. They can't be with me 24/7. And that's the reality about mental health conditions. They really cannot be with you 24/7. My suicidal thoughts were with me 24/7, but they are not with me 24/7. So in between the gap, what do? My therapist is with me 1 hour a week. So my parents obviously there a little bit more, but then I also have to figure out how do I eventually get over it. And that process, obviously the second one took a year, almost a year plus. It was torturous. Like, words cannot describe how close I was to ending things, right? And it's just so torturous to just lose control over your mind and your senses. Like, everything around you, like the sensations, the sounds, you just don't feel human anymore. And I share all this because I want you to know that there's always hope. Like, there is always hope, and this is my story that I want to tell, because people see me now and like the things that, obviously I'm not like Mr. Beast or anything, right? But I've achieved at least a decent amount of influence and so-called success. But this is possible even through the shit that I went through. I just want people to know that things can get better if you persevere. And so, like, the biggest thing I can share with people is just hold on, just cling on to hope. No matter how small that hope is, right? Even if it's a tiny whisker of hope, you cling on to it with whatever you have. Because one day when you look back, or one day your pain might become your purpose. Your mess might become your message.
Right.
So I just want people to remember that. And of course, if you're on a more serious spectrum, right, then you might need to seek more professional help and support.
Right. Right. That's a very powerful message. And I feel like, based on what you said, is what my friends have told me about depression is that nobody can help you. Not your parents, not your brother, not your girlfriend. It's only you. So you have to have that mental capacity to really handle.
Yeah, there's some truth to that, because like, it's you ultimately, right? People say that you are not alone, right? I think that's partially true. There is support, but you are alone at many times. At 3 a.m. in the morning, you are alone. So So I think I come from a more realistic point of view. I try not to like go on other extremes like, oh, you know, like you must be a David Goggins, or you must be like, oh, you know, take a self-care day every day.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's balance.
Yeah. Oh, David Goggins, I've seen guy.
Yeah, so again, it's contextual, right? Because for David Goggins, right, you analyze him, right, he genuinely enjoys suffering. Like to him, that is his life.
Yeah.
Like every single day is out there running and punishing himself. And that is how he lives a good life. Right? And somehow extreme, not somehow, we know that extremes sell on social media. And that's why it's so popular, because he appeals to a part of, I would argue, more men, more masculine in nature. He appeals to part of that within us that, hey, like the human spirit is powerful. You know, like it can conquer the odds.
Right.
Yeah. And somehow it's more guy inclined. Whether that's innate or socialized is another podcast.
True. Yeah. And actually, are there any activities that you did to help you get out of your depressive state, if I might ask?
Yeah.
Was it gymming? Was it, did you have a hobby?
It was definitely a bunch, right? So you definitely did action. Like I started going to the gym for sure. I think that kind of helped, at least kept it at bay.
Right.
But it wasn't helped me to recover, but it helped me, kept me at bay. I have a good friend that allowed me to, you know, he went with me here and there, and he was, you know, I was very thankful to him. And then one key thing is supplementation, right? So this is a bit rare, but for me, I switched out my medication. So I was taking about 6 to 7 pills a day, right? Antipsychotics, antidepressants, mood stabilizers, anti-anxiety medication, and nothing worked. Now my parents would argue that it kept me at baseline. It didn't prevent me from getting worse. But in my own like understanding, it really didn't work for me. Yeah. So then eventually I switched it out to supplementation. You know, that can help my neural pathways, that can help to deal with anxiety. You know, calcium, magnesium, omega, probiotics for the gut, because the gut and the brain is connected. And then just a bunch of stuff. And then whether it's a placebo or not, that worked.
Right. Sometimes placebos are powerful things.
It is.
I don't care if it's a placebo, as long as it
it's,
helps me, right?
Placebo is a research thing, and that's why your words are powerful. That's why, you know, morning routines are powerful, because it works. And then, like, so eventually I kind of came out of that, and slowly I could start to work again. So when I started to work again, like, because my esteem was built around work, I managed to get better. Right. Which is irony, right? It's irony, because I didn't overcome by becoming a monk. I overcame by going back to work. So then I recognize that right now I'm in a precarious position, because now I'm building my influence again on numbers. Literally, because I'm on social media. You know, and then when some videos don't do well, it's like, shit, you know.
Yeah, very true.
So like, wow, I'm in this precarious position because I need to be very cautious about my mental health. You know, that on what do I build my success and worth on. Right. You know, and so like still a journey for me.
Okay, on that topic, right, haters, you talking about mental health, right?
Yeah.
How do you deal with haters? Because we know the TikTok community in Singapore is so so prevalent.
So I take a very like weird view to it. As long as, okay, now I will put a caveat to this. As long as I did not like rape somebody, or extreme case, I did not do anything that's unethical, immoral, and I get called out for it. That one is a different case. That one is really very hard to defend. You can't even defend. You can only apologize and say, you know, I'll be better. But even then, social media has really crucified you. So you need to hold yourself to higher standards, right? Fortunately or unfortunately, I would think that it's more fortunately, right? It's more of like, okay, I need to conduct myself well. But for me, because of the content that I do, I would say like only maybe 1-2% is so-called negative. It's very hard to hit on my kind of content. I think there'll be people who silently feel that, hey, why must you film this? Why must you film kindness? Silent, but they don't put on the comment like, hey, you know. But for me, I like it. You know why? Because I don't like to live in echo chambers. I don't like to be one of those influencers that, you know, oh, my opinion matters more than you because I'm popular. First of all, some of them didn't get there because of independent thought. You got there because you showed your body. So then it's very ironic to me that you're now valuing your opinion more when you didn't get there from independent thought. But anyway, my point being is that I don't want to live in echo chambers. Like, I try my best to empathize with counter-arguments. Of course, everyone has their biasness, right? But what I do is that I actually go and research counter-argument. So nothing you can say is, nothing you say is something that I've not heard before. I will actually be a better hater than you. Because I go and read up articles on why kindness content has the issue with kindness content. You know, and so like that's how I deal with it. It's just understanding that everybody's opinion is valid, and you know, trying to filter out as you do, like trying to filter out the things that are relevant to your context and the things that are not really. You know, some of them are just projections, right? Some of them like, oh, you know, why must you spend your money on random people? Why not you give your money to people who are actually poor.
Mm.
You know, you want to give money, you don't give when people are not happy.
Correct,
I give $10,000, people say, why never give a
Why
poor?
you give 100K?
Yeah, exactly. So then you need to filter it out lah. But you know, there's this quote that is freaking funny because I'm doing like the funny thing is that you know those videos that they say like we are influencers, right? No,
Correct.
So then I did a we are insurance agents video just for fun because I have a background in direct sales and like even though it's not technically insurance, like it's very similar. So then I can relate to a lot of things and I thought I'll do a video like that. Like I don't know if people get quote unquote offended by it, but I tried to like make it in a way that's funny but somewhat relatable. You see when it's out lah. But my point is that in that video, I mentioned a quote: "My supporters make me strong, my haters make me unstoppable." And then I said that quote with a freaking serious face. So then the funny thing is obviously I'm doing a parody, but then there's some truth to that.
No, true. Actually, how do you, because I've seen some people comment that on one of your older videos, people commenting why do you have to film exactly what you say, you know, why do you have to film the kind things that you do? If you really mean it, you would have just done it without, if you don't want a popularity, or you know you're doing this just purely for popularity. How do you deal with that, or what's your rationale behind it?
How you reconcile that? I think if you look at, so I think you wanted to ask me my top 5 influencers, right? I'd love to share about that later, but one of my top 5 influencers is Mr. Beast.
Right.
And if you look at Mr. Beast, he's very extravagant, right? He has to show things. And I think the reason for that is because like it's a trade-off lah. Nothing's perfect in the world. You know? So I get the argument that, you know, the Bible says don't let your right hand know what your left hand is doing, or the other way around, can't remember. But the point is that when you do charity, you don't want to just take your horns and blow, hey, I'm doing charity. Charity is meant to be done, you know, somewhat in secret. It's meant to be between you and the person, you and God. And I can see the argument because it is a strong one. And there can be a case where people are just doing it because they want to show off, they want, you know, to be seen well by people. But before I go into that, I also want to present a separate argument from a utilitarian point of view, right? Is that if companies do CSR for show to get good PR, right? But people are benefiting, is it really a bad thing? You know what I mean? So then like that's one argument against that, is that as an overall, there's more good than bad. It's a net positive. Now for me, it's very simple. I think showcasing on media has leverage. Right? There's code leverage because that video is forever and it can go to a wide variety of people. And more people get inspired to do kind acts or to see the value of human connection. And that's always been my intention of the video, not to show that I love money, but it's just to show people the value of human connection. How beautiful it can be. You know, how freaking beautiful telling someone I appreciate you can be. You know, and I think a lot of DMs of people telling me that, hey, you know, your content has impacted me. There's one DM that said, I want to take my life tonight, but because of your videos, I stopped myself.
That's nice.
So I'm getting emotional talking about this because like in my dream book, I wrote down to change and save lives. Right? And that's one of the reasons why I'm doing my content. You know, so, you know, to answer the question, that's the reason why I show it. Now, do I want fame? Do I want influence? The answer is yes. I won't deny that as well. I've always wanted to be famous since I was young. Like my first dream is to be Olympian, to run in front of a stadium. So I've always been somewhat of a narcissist. And as long as, like, to me, narcissism and altruism is both sides of the same coin. I think people label things too fast. As long as for me that balance is 30% narcissism and 70% altruism, I'm fine. You know, because I need to believe that I'm great. I need to believe that I can do good things.
Agree.
I need to believe that I can influence, right? And that comes from a slight place of narcissism as well. So to me, like, I don't deny that I'm doing it for the influence, but hopefully that can be a good influencer.
I always believe that when people say, oh, you're just doing this because you want to be fit, I've never denied that I wanted to have the power and the influence, right? I also agree that in social media, of course, we want to grow our following so that we have stronger and higher level of influence, but it's for the right things. I don't want it to sell you my, you know, whatever, to earn more money from you. I want it to impact at least impact the people in a positive way. And shed light on things that, you know, causes that.
Yes, correct. And may I add also, right, that karma, I believe in karma, I believe in the universe, and I think that people will have their reward in full. Now, if they are doing it because they are basing their esteem around validation and influence and likes, then life will bite back at them. They will have their own reward paid to them, right? Whether is it through like a depressive episode, whether is it through emptiness. So then life would pay them back. You know, you don't really need to like pay them back because life will eventually bring them back into balance if let's say they're doing it more towards that reason. You know?
Very true. I think I totally believe in karma. I'm not very religious, but I'm religious to a certain extent. I do believe in karma. I believe what goes around comes around. if you're doing it with malicious intent, you're just masking it.
Yeah.
People will eventually see it, and I feel like life has its way of cutting you down when you least expect it. So as long as people like yourself and myself, as long as we are going into this with a clean and clear conscience, we're not doing this with malicious intent in order to manipulate people once we have more influence and power. I think that's fine.
Yeah, correct. And so karma is a very deep topic, especially in Buddhism and Hinduism. It's a huge principle there. And it's very fascinating. Like, karma means action, actually. The word in Sanskrit means action. It's like your life is your karma. And intentions matter as well in karma. It's not just the act.
Correct. Then you were saying just now on the top 5 people who have inspired you, who have influenced you to do what you do. Could you share a bit more on that?
Yeah, so I can share. I think the first one by far is my parents. My parents have been instrumental in my life, my upbringing. They raised me out of love rather than fear. The generosity, the kindness that they have, the grace that they have, it's kind of like passed down to me. Second one is Jesus Christ, because I'm no longer a staunch Christian anymore. I'm leaning more towards agnostic now. But I grew up with a very staunch Christian faith, and I think that it definitely influenced me. Right, the idea of reaping and sowing, right, the idea of glorifying God in whatever that you do, the idea of loving other people. The essence of Christianity is essentially love. Right. Obviously, people say there's judgment, but okay, we don't talk about that's another different podcast. The third one would be my mentors in my first business, that I ran. When I came out of depression at 18, 19 years old, they were the ones that really guided me. In terms of, they balanced me out. They helped me see life from a bigger picture. They taught me the social, interpersonal skills, the business skills, right, that I didn't learn in school. So in my early 20s, I had a very strong foundation to kind of like be in business for myself, and it's purely because of them, because I didn't learn that in school. Right. The fourth one is Mr. Beast, because I'm just inspired by his relentlessness. His vision is incredible. And many people don't realize this, right? He's only 25 years old.
Oh, he's only...
Yeah, so freaking hell.
He looks 30-something.
Yeah, exactly. So you look at his...
So
you look at his reaction, right? His reaction...
He's younger than us.
Yeah. He's a billionaire also, obviously. But the thing is it's crazy because nobody actually knows his actual age. But he started at 15 years old, and everyone thinks he's in his 30s, right? But he's only 25.
This year?
I think so.
Or last year lah.
I can't remember.
Oh my
25, 26, but still.
I'm gonna Google this because I don't believe you. There's no way he's 25.
He's 25,
That's
bro.
the Beast age.
Yeah.
You guys can see. He's 25 years old. He is 25.
Yeah.
He's born in 1998. Okay, 7th May 1998.
It's insane.
Guy's younger than me, man.
It's insane. So if you look at what Mr. Beast has done, right, it's unfathomable because like he has multiple channels, multiple product lines, and the videos that he does is just out of the world.
Yeah.
Like insane, like millions and millions of dollars, and he's doing it consistently. Then you just imagine the amount of planning, the systems in place, right, to produce content at that scale, to run that many businesses. Someone offered him $1 billion to buy over his brand.
He said no.
He said no. Yeah. So it's insane. It's $1 billion, and so like I cannot fathom, like, obviously you get a taste of it because you listen to his podcast, you know that he's obsessed, right? And the moment you wake up, he thinks of it, his brand. So then you get some clues to his success, but at the same time, like, you realize that it needs a level of obsession and radicalness.
Yes, so true. Agree.
To get successful. So then, obviously, I modeled after. I'm nowhere. Of course, people compare me to him because like there's no other person in Singapore doing it, right? In this capacity. But I intentionally wanted to be extravagant because like I feel that there's a need to be extreme for people to say that, hey, this person like really serious about what he does.
Yeah.
So I will continue to be extreme. I will continue to give back almost everything that I make. And so like. Of course, I need to take care of my finances as well. I think my other businesses will do that. But everything that I make from, sponsorships, my shirts, which I think Justin will be kind to link you up with.
Definitely.
You should check those out.
When we spoke on social media, and he told me that he was inspired by Mr. Beast, I was like, oh my god, same. Because that's why when people post these kinds of YouTube videos or videos online, it inspires people. I mean, it has inspired both of us. I've also been inspired by David Dobrik.
Okay.
Regardless of what, I think he had faced some sexual allegations, right?
Yeah.
That aside, I don't know, I didn't follow up with the story, don't know if that's true or not. But I think what he does for his friends, his loved ones, buying his friends a car, dream car, of course in the US is much cheaper than in Singapore, and you get to keep it for life. There's no COE, whole other story, whole other topic. But I would love to do that, I always want to retire they don't really need my help, but it would be nice for me to give them back because you know, like you said, your parents are the number one inspiration. I think for me, it's a bit cliche, and I will never tell my parents this, and I don't think they watch my videos. But if you guys are watching, yeah, I mean, you guys are my inspiration, and I'll never tell them that because tough love. Traditional Asian family, we don't say I love you, we don't hug each other. We are a bit more, we know that, you know, but I just want to verbally put this out there that they have been my inspiration. At least my dad has always inspired me to do. My dad even wrote me a book on how to be a proper person.
He wrote you a book?
He wrote me a book. Yeah, I'm doing a TikTok on this. He wrote me a book on how to live your life and be a good person. He wrote on kindness, spreading positivity, talking about karma, talking about this and that. Yeah, always prioritizing people instead of money, you know, all these things. So I think a part of me, who I am today, is definitely because of him. Yeah. So, and David Dobrik, I've always wanted to, you know, like my friends, I want to reach a point in time where I earn. So money is always a thing. People always say, you're just doing this for money. You know, shit, what else am I doing it for? Right? I have to be realistic. I am doing it for money. Money facilitates a lot of things in the world. It can help solve a lot of problems. If my friend needs a $100,000 surgery and he doesn't have the money for it, I'll just transfer it to you if I have the capacity. I want to have the capacity to do that and buy whatever my friends or my family want. Just like that. It doesn't, So to a certain extent, David Dobrik, I think Mr. Beast, these are two people that have inspired myself.
Yeah, and they find a great balance between, like, to me, I'm a compassionate capitalist, right? So I believe in capitalism, but I also believe that it's from a compassionate point of view. And I think that's why Mr. Beast appeals to me, because like he's doesn't just do charity. He has his philanthropic arms, but then he's a businessman as well. Right? It's a very, very proficient businessman. And I think that's why, you know, I model some of the things that I do. Hopefully, maybe in future, if Radical grows, like, I might start even a concept store or like a cafe, you know, about giving back. Who knows, you know? So it's like many, many things that you can branch into. Now, I know at time's running. I want you to guess what's the last person that has influenced me.
The last person, I would like to say, I hope it's me, but I don't think so.
No,
so I'm gonna guess. It's not David Dobrik. No, it's not. Shit. Okay. Can you give me a clue, like a hint? Is it someone what if I don't know this person?
You definitely know this person. So that's the clue.
I definitely know this person.
Know this person. That's a big clue.
Is it he or she Singaporean? Is it he?
He's not Singaporean.
He's not a Singaporean.
Yeah.
Obama.
You can guess it's not difficult to guess. That's my.
It's not difficult to guess. Now that you say that, now makes me seem stupid if I can't guess it. So
he was very popular last year.
Last year he was very popular.
Yeah.
Well, can't be Putin.
2 years ago. Can't remember.
Oh, give me more clues, man. I don't wanna be stupid.
Controversial guy.
Shit, controversial guy.
I'm sure some of you really got it, but Justin is still thinking about it.
I'm gonna cut this out and jump to the part when I already know it.
Don't cut this out.
He's not a Singaporean. Oh, you gotta give me more clues, man.
Oh shit, this guy. If I give you more clues, it becomes more obvious really. Okay, let me think.
It's obvious to you because you know it.
Okay. I cannot be too obvious also. He's rich.
Well, that's not all. There are many rich people.
He's very rich at a young age. And he has a massive influence.
He's not Mr. Beast. He's a massive influence, young guy, a lot of money.
Not that young, but young enough.
Young enough.
Yeah,
oh my goodness.
A lot of men look up to him.
Okay. And I guess he's bald and he's narcissistic,
yeah.
right?
Yeah,
okay. Andrew Tate.
Yeah, it is Andrew Tate. So then I want to talk about this because like TikTok is now banned Andrew Tate. So then I can't talk about him on TikTok, but I can talk about him on YouTube. Right. So like I feel it's very misunderstood. And it shows, right? I think people's reaction to him really, really reveals their the level of critical thought, their background, their values. It's very fascinating to me because I don't love him or hate him, right? I don't love or hate anybody, by the way. I'll never put anyone on a pedestal. But he's a fascinating character to me simply because of the depth of knowledge he has across fields and how he presents that in a very rhetorical, persuasive way. Across gender dynamics, across politics, systems, money making. It's very practical things that he advises, that he gives when it comes to money making, just hustling in general. And he presents things from and religion and his views on religion and spirituality as well. It's very fascinating to listen to. Now, of course, the most contentious part is, again, we need a podcast on this to really break down all the counter arguments against him, and I can probably do one for you properly. But the most obvious one people say is he's a rapist, is the drug trafficker, and people label him like that just because he got arrested for it. But there was no charges against him.
Yep.
There was no charges against him. That's why he got released, and it was proven that some of these were false allegations as well. And his point is very strong that he has met with hundreds of women, right, and thousands of people were caught and interrogated, and not a single one turned against him. That's why he's out.
Yep.
And to me, at least a testament to how he has conducted his life, right? Yes, obviously he says certain controversial things, arguably intentionally as well, to gain influence.
Yep.
But there's a dash of truth in that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I think people paint him as a misogynist as well. Now that I go down this path, it's very hard for me to really talk about it, because it needs a podcast by itself. If I just talk about it in jest, right, people are going to think that I'm a misogynist.
Yes, correct, correct. It's still brief. It's a touch and go kind of thing.
So then people are going to think I'm misogynist, but let me try and put together my words. I think people need to read in between the lines and be critical thinkers and not let their biases fully get in the way. I can see how people will find him crass. I can fully understand why women would not like him. That's for sure. Because at the start, back then when he was that popular, there's certain things that he was saying that were really very crass towards women.
Yes.
Yeah.
But there are...
And if you have a girlfriend, you're going to find it hard to explain to her.
Of course, yeah. But there are certain things that he says that are very true, that I agree 200% with. But then again, like you said, maybe the way he's putting it across could have been better. Yeah.
But to close this entire discussion about Tate, right? I think it's helpful to not crucify somebody or idolize somebody. Both ways, I think you become a very emotional person. You just need to ask yourself, what can this situation teach me? Why is Andrew Tate so massively popular? There has to be underlying reasons behind it. So when you go and analyze these reasons, you apply empathy, right? There's a lot you can learn. There's really a lot, which I can't discuss in this podcast, but there's a lot you can learn about human nature, human behavior, influence, persuasion. It's just, he's just become a case study for my own. It's like a mental orgasm.
That's one way to put it.
But the chief of which why I'm inspired by him is because he has the courage to speak his truth, despite the risk of death. And I don't mean this as an exaggeration. There are people that want him dead.
Of course.
He got all his accounts wiped out. Not just his bank accounts, his Airbnb, everything on social media. When they cancel him. So it's very fascinating because yes, you may not agree with him, but then it's a separate argument to then take away everything from him. So then it presents a different thing altogether about who controls society, how does society run, But my point is that I want the courage to speak up, right, and speak my truth despite external pressures.
Yeah. Okay, interesting. Well, to end the video off, I have one last question, which I'm sure a lot of people will be curious is, what do you work as? To the point where you can give away, $20,000s of dollars. Not any ordinary person can do that. So could you share? I'm sure people are curious.
Yeah. So I think it's a mix, right? I think I follow the Mr. Beast model. So I give back a lot of what I own. It's not that I'm very, very wealthy. Justin definitely earns more than me for a fact. Okay.
No comments.
So
I don't know about that.
No, I know it for a fact. So then, I make a I'll just. Actually don't want to share how much I earn as well. Maybe I'll give you a range, probably within the top 5% of my age group, right? So it's
and how old are you? Don't tell me
29,
19 or something.
29.
Oh, 29, okay. I don't. Maybe you're gonna put a Mr. Beast on me. 29, okay.
No. So then, I run a few businesses, mostly in training and development. So I go to schools, I deliver programs and talks. I hire trainers. Sometimes I do talks in corporates that pay decently. And then I have a first business in direct sales, which I've put on autopilot. So I earn some passive income from there. And that's also where I'm funding Radical Kindness from. So then obviously now I have another stream of income, which is Radical Kindness, where sponsors are coming to me. But it's still a net loss.
Of course. At this point. Of course. I mean, the sponsors are not going to give you 20,000, 10,000. It's a
slowly build up,
slow climb, slow and painful climb up. But it'll be worth it with the amount of people that you're inspiring and helping. So with the social capital, I think that's what makes a huge, to me, the impact that it means the most to me, right? I mean, the financial return will come, I believe in abundance, but for now, there's a lot of social benefits that I'm kind of receiving, like the Maserati was one. There's a lot of hidden stuff that you don't see, like people helping me for my shirts, people volunteering to help me for free, so, I'm sure if you take the monetary aspect out of it, the dollar value, the net the net ROI is actually positive because of the number of people that you have helped.
Massively positive.
Yeah. It's like 1,000%
Yeah,
ROI.
yeah, for sure. You're saving a life. Assuming that I've saved a life, you can't put a number to that.
Yeah, even if it's just one person. Yeah. Everything you've done, one person. I think you will still do it.
Yeah.
Okay, so last question that I have for you, Kevin. I know just now I said last question, but then now this is another last question just came to mind. Is there one piece of advice that you would like to leave the viewers with, and not the usual
work hard, right?
typical just work hard? Everyone knows that. Yeah. So what's one piece of advice?
Okay, so this one's a very simple answer. One piece of advice is that there's no one piece of advice. One piece of advice is you can never take somebody's, not me, not Justin, not anybody on social media, never take someone's advice at face value.
Yes.
You always need to contextualize it to yourself. That's the one piece of advice I can give you. Right? If you watch a lot of content, there's many people telling you 1,001 things. I think you really have to define your own success and see what applies to you. That's all.
That's very good advice. I think it's so important to not take things at face value. I think social media, like you said, everything is contextual. So you just have to have that critical thinking.
It's contextual,
right?
it's filtered, and it's staged, and it's exaggerated.
Yeah.
Point in case.
I mean, it's social media, so.
Case in point, not point in case.
Case in point. So yeah, anyway, so thanks Kevin again for making the time to come down for today's podcast.
Yeah, it's a pleasure, thank you.
If you guys like his content, definitely, yeah. So I reached out to him because we are actually working on a collaboration for another YouTube video. This podcast is going to be on YouTube and TikTok. But we are working on another one, which I don't think we have time to discuss today, but we can always catch up another time, no worries. So yeah, anyway, that aside, I'm going to leave some of his socials. Where are you on? Instagram, TikTok?
Instagram and TikTok.
TikTok,
I think
anything?
I link my personal.
Okay.
And like I said, I'm releasing some shirts. So if you want to support the brand and also be fashionable, because I created it not just to promote my brand. I want people to express that value.
So anyway, till then, I will see you guys in the next video. So stay tuned for our next collaboration. Okay, thanks guys. See you. Bye-bye.
Bye.